am the editor-in-chief of Own It Magazine and Publishing, and welcome to As Featured in Own It. I'm taking center stage today and owning it with our May CoverGirl. She is a triple whammy. She is on our main magazine as well as our Lifestyles and Leisure Living magazine, as well as our Lit magazine, which is our Literacy Awareness magazine. We're going to be unclocking your creative purpose and redefining wellness for women over 40, spirit, mind, and body. And we are going to be in your healing place with Dr. Stepanie Reid. And I'm so excited to have her here. We're going to dive right in. We're going to bring her on out. Stephanie, how are you, Dr. Reid?
I'm doing well. I'm absolutely doing well. It's so nice to see you.
I know, and it's so nice for you to be here in the U.S. You're over in the U.S. And it's exciting. So when you travel back and forth and back and forth, we love where we live. You live in Hawaii, and that's featured in the Lifestyles and Leisure magazine this month. But we also like going back home. I'm in the DR, but we also like going back home. We love going back and forth, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it breaks things up. It keeps things exciting and new. And so I want to dive in and talk about today. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you focus on that. You focus on our self care, our well being in general. Talk to us about unclocking your creative purpose. Talk to us a little bit about your practice and what you do.
Well, I'm a doctor of naturopathy. I've been in practice for now 20 years. COVID really did a job on me. I had to reinvent myself and figure out how I can still deliver care to women that made sense. And so I call it redefining wellness for women over 40. And how I've been able to do that is to help women integrate the idea that you're a spirit, a mind, and a body, and in that order. And because we're in that order, I needed to make sure I gave them the resources to deal with the things that people just want to lump into menopause, right? So we know about the biological clock that we women have. That's when we're mothering, we're creating things with our womb, we're doing all this stuff. There comes a time when that clock stops. But what happens when that clock stops? Either you are going to make that pivot and tap into the gifts and talents that God gave you after that fact, or you're going to spend the rest of your life trying to tackle illnesses and emotional pain and traumas and resentment and hurt and having that S on your chest you wish you can rip off, but it's branded into your heart. Either you're going to do that, or you're going to say, wait a minute, I was born for something else. And so I teach women in that age bracket to unclock, disconnect from what they did with their womb, and step into their creative purpose, because only until you find that sweet spot, life is not fulfilled, right? I have the houses, I have the cars, we go on trips, we do all these things, but that does not fulfill the soul. And if your soul is not fulfilled, then in short order, you will be spending the second half of your life nursing not only other people, but also your dis-ease processes that manifested in your body. And I think that is unacceptable for women over 40.
Wow, you have said a lot, and so I'm honestly, audience, just listen in because Dr. Reed can handle this interview all by herself. I know because she goes right in, and you said something that was very important too. You talked about the womb and detaching from the womb or unclocking from the womb. We're in May. May is about Mother's Day. I believe
Mhm.
that we should be celebrating and honoring mothers all the time. I'm big on that. Bringing consciousness, and that's what's been on my mind a lot lately. That word conscious, being
Mhm.
conscious, presence, awake, or how they say it, woke. We have to be awake into that shift, because in May we shift from it being cold in the U.S. and in other parts of the world. coming out of the winter months and into the spring and into summer. So when we were talking about this time of the year, we're talking also about change and shifting and changing seasons. That's the same thing when we enter into, when we become moms and we enter into menopause. That's still connected with being a mom and motherhood and all that other stuff. That's still connected. But there is a life after your children. There is a life, and
Mhm.
some women enter to the cycle again because they're still young enough to have more offspring, instead of
Mhm.
and finding out, and that's like you said, unclocking that creative purpose. What are some of the tools and the resources that you use? Can you give that information to our audience on how you help? Because sometimes these people are really, really into cycles and they stay in that pattern. You know what I mean? That pattern, they never unclock. So, what are some of the resources and some of the methodologies that you use to do that?
Let's talk about the methodology first, and then I'll get into the resources. The methodology I teach is the fact that not only are you a spirit, mind, and body, but there are four phases of your life that you might not be aware of. And if you're trapped in a phase where the child version of you is running your life, then it doesn't matter how old you are. You can try whatever you want to do to get yourself into another level of development as a woman, but it's not going to happen if you're mentally and spiritually still in a child's mind. And so the first premise is I help women to understand there are three principles that they need to understand. Women only have three problems. We are trapped in past traumas, right? Think about all the trauma you went through, and now you're triggered. You're triggered by those past traumas, and everything you do is predicated on your protecting yourself from a perceived threat that you have not worked through. And that creates overwhelm. The overwhelm comes from when we're talking negative about ourselves. I'm not good enough. Everybody's moving beyond me. I haven't accomplished this. What's wrong with my life? That's the second problem. The third problem is we get to a point of frustration that we go, you know what? I'm gonna read this book, I'm gonna take this course, I'm gonna do this, this, and that. And it becomes just sound bites of information. And now we get confused. In that confusion, we go back to our old way of thinking and being. And so we regress. And then we're back to the ideology of I'm disappointed. My life is not what I thought it was gonna be. This is horrible. And then at that moment, that's when you go to your doctor and tell them everything that's going on with you. And they go, oh, it's just menopause. And so our power is taken away to go through resources to find the solutions to what we discovered when they say it's menopause, and that kind of stops the exploration. And we just think, well, this has got to be like this for the next 10, 12 years because menopause could last that long. But the truth is, it's not menopause, it's an accumulation of the lack of integrating spirit, mind, and body. It's the inability to process who you're being at any given time because you don't know that you might be a maiden, you might be the mother, you might be the guardian of the crown. And these are developmental phases of a woman's life that 90% of women don't know. All you know is what I'm doing right now is not working, and it's not working because you're in the maiden, you're the little girl phase. You're thinking with a little girl mind and a fantasy heart, and you're 49. No wonder it's not working. So then I take that reality and I say, here, instead of you reading a book and you not being able to get support, taking another course, I have delivered everything you need to give you a system so you can not only master it, but move on to the next level of your life with grace. So it's a course. There's books. Within the book, there's a book, a workbook, a coloring book, and a journal. There is a course, a private group, and a coaching program. So no longer do you have to guess when somebody says do your self work. You don't have to go, well, what does that mean? I've laid it out for you. Our biggest problem in this transition of us not being able to pivot is we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what solution to attach to the problem because we don't know what the real problem is. And how you get to the real problem is you have a strategy session with me, and I will help you discover the problem so we can put our energy in the right place to again get you moving forward. So you need a system, you need a structure, you need an acknowledgement of the spirit, mind, and body, and understanding the phase that you're in. If you're a maiden, then you have no sense of self. And everybody can just do anything they want to you. And you go, what do you want? And they ask you, what do you want? You go, I don't know. What do you want to be? I don't know. There's no sense of health, self. The mother happens when we do give birth to our bodies, and that's when we give ourselves away. We're betrayed, we're misunderstood, we're taken for granted, and all these things happen because now, instead of staying in the space of giving ourselves that time of self exploration, we now give that away, and we don't have enough wherewithal to understand when the wolf is coming. We don't see the wolf coming. We don't see the blind spots. So we get constantly betrayed. The mother is normally where women in our age bracket are trapped. They never get out of that phase. And that's why I have women coming to me saying, I'm a doormat. People are taking advantage of me. How does this stop? My grown kids are acting like this. It's crazy. And then that's also when you start having those metabolic diseases, and everybody wants to just call it menopause. So I'm putting all these ideas together to give you a broader perspective to see what your life is actually doing, what's happening in relationship to what you want to happen, and how you can get it to go in that direction. That was a long
That's so
answer.
good. No, but listen, the real deal is this is I always say, own it is not about the quick fix. Own it is not about it's tough because you have to sit still long enough. Just like you said, you have to unclock long enough to do the introspective work that's necessary. So if
Mhm.
you really not true value, you may not know your worth, and people may be doing this and doing that to you and all of that. Okay, we get it. But if you will sit still long enough to allow yourself the time to really resonate and be in the present and really do the assessing, that takes work. That takes making yourself a priority, and that's one of the biggest challenges in helping people transition, transform, and do the work that's necessary. Is that critical point that you say is unclocking. You've got to unclock. You have to disconnect, but you have to have a strategy plan, and
Mhm.
you have that laid out. You have a strategy, but like everything else, you have to know. You have to listen. In the Lit magazine, in the Literacy Awareness magazine, it is commonly said throughout. Knowledge is power. Knowledge applied is powerful. So
Powerful.
you got to not only know, you got to now do it. And the Bible is very clear. Don't be hearers only, but be doers
Yes.
also, lest you deceive yourself, right?
Mhm.
So you got to
Yeah.
do the work. And so I really love this. Really love this. Talk to the people about what that's like. How Give them a shout out of your link to set up a strategy session with you. How do they get started, and what does that look and feel like?
Yeah. You can go to my website, and it's drstephanieyhp.com. And this is easy. When I had a brick and mortar practice in for the past 16 years, and then COVID hit, I never wanted to have a Dr. Stephanie's office because to me that didn't mean anything. Doctors' offices were a dime a dozen. My practice is called Your Healing Place because when you came into that space, I wanted you to feel comfortable that you knew that somebody was going to address what you were saying. Somebody was going to listen to you and give you what you needed. So my handles are always going to be Dr. Stephanie YHP, which is Your Healing Place. So if you type that in, you can find me. That is actually my website. And if you go to the website and click at the very top, you will have access to a strategy session with me and a free ebook. That is the beginning. And during that conversation that you and I are going to have, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to hear your pain, and then I'm not going to let you stay there. I'm going to transmute that pain on the call. So by the time we disconnect, you are ready to take action in the direction of the version of yourself that holds the purse to your purpose. Because what happens is over the past 20, 30 years, people have allowed you to stay in that narrative that kept you stuck. I can't allow you to do that anymore. So I'm going to listen to you, but then I'm going to pivot you right on that call. And then we're going to start on your journey of redefining wellness for you, spirit, mind, and body.
That is so important. And when we think about menopause, which is supposed to be middle age, right? So we're at the midpoint of our lives and we're trying to figure it out. I can remember one day getting ready to walk up the stairs and I said to myself, okay, that how are you going to parent from here? Now your kids are your height. You know, when your kids were little, you used to be able to say, you better do what I tell you to do. Now your kids are your height. How are you going to maintain that authority over them? How are you going to maintain that authority? And it's just the same thing with any phase that you're ending. Whenever you're ending one level and going to the next level, or one season into the next season, the new season holds everything that's new. So you're a little about it because you don't know what's going to happen in this new season. The old techniques and the old past methodologies, they're not necessarily going to work. And you already know that they're not going to work. So now you're just like, oh God, how am I going to fake it till I make it? And so I just feel like, and the thing that, Nathaniel Ross, Nate, we are always talking about conversations that we have around the dinner table or in families. And we don't have these conversations. And I believe that that's why so many people are lost or in identity crisis because we're not having these conversations of phases of life
Mhm.
and we're not having them from a place of victory. We're having them from a place of victim and lack of knowledge. And so that's what I really love about when you come across who not only know that the gap exists, but you also
Mhm.
know how to bridge the gap. And that's critically important. Not that know that we have an issue, but we also have a resolution to the issue if people will be willing enough to do the work that's necessary. And just like I said before, knowledge is power, but knowledge applied is powerful. That means that what you're saying, Dr. Reid, in regards to the textbooks that you have, the assessments that are there, all the resources, that means you're going to have to read. You're going to have to read, you're going to have to digest, you're going to have to assess, address, and move forward. And that's a work. That's work. But at the end of the day, just like getting your driver's license, when you first came in, you didn't have a license and you didn't know how to drive. But when you finish the course, what do you have? You're able to drive, and as a result, you can take yourself anywhere you're willing to travel, right? So it works with this. And so I love it. Again, share how people can work with you, what they can do to get in touch with you. And I'm going to tell you, if you look at the ticker tape down below, if you put any of this, like let's say if you don't remember what Dr. Reed said in regards to connecting with her, you put any of this verbiage in, Dr. Reed will come up in Google. So Dr. Reed, share with them how they can work with you and how they can connect with you.
Well, I'm going to do something that's really bold, just extremely bold, and I'm ready for it to have a system that can contain it. I will just leave my phone number. You can call me. You ready for this? But before I give it to you, I want to tell you knowledge is power. The use of knowledge is powerful, but getting help is a power move. You cannot live life in excellence by yourself. So let's start making power moves, ladies. So I'm challenging you to give me a call 443 486 3866. That's my number. I challenge you. I dare you to call me because guess what? I will answer the phone. I will engage you in conversation and we can move forward because we are redefining wellness for women 40 plus, spirit, mind, and body. And in order to do that, you have to release triggers of past traumas. You have to stop talking dirty to yourself and you have to stop regressing. And ultimately, I challenge you to take the S off your chest. Ask for help, because getting help for yourself is a power move. But I'm challenging you also to use discernment to know what the right help is for you. Don't miss your blessing, but don't accept no wooden nickels either. Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, no. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I love it. Let's see. Let's keep a watch. You gotta let me know who calls you.
I can't wait.
You gotta let me know who calls you.
Yeah, can you put the number in the
Because
ticker?
listen,
Is it too late to
yes,
put the
I
number in
am.
the
I
ticker?
can.
Okay, you can put it in the ticker. I challenge
Nope.
you. Because if you don't get me, I'm gonna call you back. So then your charge is to answer the phone when I call, because you will know that it's me
There
returning
you
your
go.
call, right?
Yep. There you go. Yeah. You can't lose with that. You
Here's the
can't
phone.
lose with that. So it's 3868.
Now, caveat: if you're calling me in a time zone where I'm asleep, then that's not fair. But I will return your call.
Go. All right. There we go. The number is, and let's make sure it's right.
Okay.
So I have 443 486
Four eight
3866.
six 3866. You got it. That is me. That's how you reach me. Okay.
All right now.
Woo.
So listen, we charging you. Reach out and listen, unclock and tap into your creative purpose. You are living. You don't just want to exist. You want to live.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to live. I have a private Facebook group, so anybody that calls me, they can get into my private group and have access to me. And one of the things that I do know is that my energy is precious, so I don't give it out indiscriminately. You have to be invited into my inner circle. But if I call you and we have a conversation, then you will have access to me in that private group. So it's up to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you. Can't say that help.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
ladies and gentlemen, we are out. Have a great rest of the week. God bless you.
God bless.